Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest thinkers and emperors, teaches us that the second half of life is not a decline but an opportunity to focus, refine, and master our inner world. Marcus Aurelius spent the first half of his life proving worthy of himself and the second mastering his true self. That distinction matters if you're entering or already in your 40s. This stage isn't about decline, but a transition toward clarity, purpose, and refinement. Before we go deeper, please subscribe to Second Half Wisdom and like the video. This channel exists for serious thinkers who want the second half of life to be stronger than the first. Now let's get to it. The second half of life begins when you stop proving yourself. Marcus Aurelius was born into a prominent and influential family and yet spent decades earning his legitimacy, navigating politics, military campaigns, and philosophical training. Long before becoming emperor in 161 AD, he trained as a philosopher under Stoic teachers and served as consul multiple times, demonstrating his capabilities and commitment to Roman governance. We are all familiar with the urge to prove to the world what we can before 40. Careers, families, achievements, and status demand energy a lot. Then suddenly, a shift begins. The second half isn't concerned with applause. It's concerned with integrity. But this time we shift to asking different questions, not how do I get more, but what actually matters now. This transition begins to shape our obligation and redefine our ambition. Mastering the ruling mind becomes the priority. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditation for personal reflection and self-guidance. His focus was the ruling mind, the faculty that directs actions, responses, and character. The book was only preserved and published posthumously, decades or even centuries after his death, by individuals whose identities remain unknown today. Once we get into the second half of life, training the ruling mind becomes really essential. You can't afford to be reactive or tyrannized by our impulse, habits, or ego. Practically, you should gradually transition to journaling, deliberate reading, mental stillness, and questioning your emotional reflexes. The goal here is not only to stay calm and preserve your energy, but also to start understanding your true self. Subtraction becomes more powerful than addition. People often spend their younger years accumulating skills, contacts, connections, wins, and material possessions. Marcus Aurelius believed that true wisdom comes from removing our anxiety about reputation, removing resentment about the past, and, well, getting yourself free from fear of what comes in the future. After 40, subtraction should become your main form of strategy. The Stoic philosophy, such as that of Marcus Aurelius, suggests that with age and experience, folks gain wisdom and learn to prioritize what is important by dissociating themselves from unnecessary obligations and distractions so they can focus on what truly matters. This is the stage where you find meaning and purpose in your life. People change jobs, shed bad relationships, simplify their goals, and, most importantly, concentrate on one or two serious objectives for the rest of their life. You should know that whatever you choose to get rid of at this stage could define your second half more than what you acquire. Mortality clarifies purpose instead of depressing it. Marcus Aurelius frequently contemplated death, but as a practical philosophical tool to focus on living an intentional life in the present moment. He viewed mortality as a natural part of existence, which, as you might know, is a perspective that is shared by many Stoics. Every time Marcus Aurelius reminded himself about the fragile nature of life, he aimed to ensure every important step he took could lead to a purpose and also align with his principles. However, in our modern life today, this is where legacy and contribution to positive social change in society becomes relevant. You stop living for someday and start finishing the things that have mattered all along. For example, writing the memoir, teaching the younger generations, restoring your health, learning difficult subjects, and even completing meaningful projects. The second half of life is not reinvention but reconciliation with our past. Marcus Aurelius did not try to become someone new, but found purpose by discovering his true self. The second half of life works the same way. You integrate what you built in your first half with what the second half demands. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe to Second Half Wisdom and share the video with someone who's entering their second half.